Two things. From what transpired, I would have gone for a very ambitious young coach. The performance of Milo has taught me a lesson that the second coming of coaches in this country have been disastrous. The second thing, I will support my former boss, Dr. Nyaho Tamakulu, is to resort to young players. Football is for young players. And I had this policy in where I was starting. If you ask them, I always said that any player over 30 years is no longer a footballer, but a politician. He's coming to destroy your team for you. They will come with agitations and all kinds of things. With due respect, it's not a rule of general application, but invariably it happens in most cases. And in the very recent past, each competition that we went with young players, we did well. 2010, we went with 8 players from the Under-20 World Cup winning team. We just won the Under-20 African Cup. I am surprised that we didn't promote 6 or more of those players to the Black Stars. We should have done that and given them the confidence to play, and they would have gone far. In 2010, Mr. Ayatu, former president of CAF, he met me after we lost the first match to Cote d'Ivoire. We lost 3-1. He met me and said, Kwesi, I see your team is made up of young boys. And I said, yes, Mr. President. He said, African Cup of Nations is not for young boys. I said, Mr. President, we'll make amends in the subsequent match. Why did we end? At the finals, we nearly won the competition. And if we look back from the transition of young boys, each time that we go to a World Cup for under-17 or under-20, and these young boys get the chance to play, they do well. Right from 92, we had Isaac Asare, we had Mohamed Gago, we had Odate Lamte. And these young boys were introduced into the AFCON, and they proved to be future flag bearers for the team. Then in 1997, we had Lai Kingston and Co playing the under-17. They went into the 99, and then Makilese and Co went to World Cup in 99. They went into the under-20 in 2001. And it is a combination of these groups that ensured our qualification to the 2006 World Cup. There is always a difficulty I have with coaches. Very few coaches have the courage to really temper with the team and bring in young players. The coach must be courageous to know when to introduce young players and be courageous enough to retire or ask older people to stand by. In 2010, I am surprised that Milo couldn't do that in 2022. Ask Stephen Appiah, when the 2010 final selection of the team in Paris, the coach, we went innocent as we are, thinking that older players will send the team to the World Cup and do well. Milo said, no way, he will rely on young players. And to demonstrate that, what did he do? He created 2 teams, one team of young boys, another team of experienced players, and asked them to play. The young boys without names scored an avalanche of goals against the older boys. Some of them were dropped from the World Cup team. And if we look at the team at the 2010 World Cup, we had established players. Even our captain, Stephen Appiah, did not play regularly in the team.
That's true.
Suleiman Tare did not play regularly in the team. But we had younger players like Andrea Yu at the time, Dominic Adia, Anthony Annan, Jonathan Mensah.
And,
you must be courageous to use young players. If you want to use older players, the door will be open and that will be your lot.
It's alleged that sometimes it's the media and then football administrators who impose these old players. How dare you do?
No.
Because Nana had a similar thing in after the 94 fiasco. Nana put some pressure on the coaches then. And if you remember the opening World Cup, African Nations Cup qualifier matches, Dan Addo and company were brought in. I think they won 5-0 at the
young boys. Yes. And
we went helter-skelter. We laid into him.
Yeah.
We laid into that administration.
Yeah.
And before too long, they had brought back the Odwadis.
Yeah.
For want of better words.
But Carl, for me, it is no excuse for a coach to succumb to any form of pressure. Coaches are professionals who are employed to do their work just as architects, engineers, surveyors, teachers. And their professionalism must be respected by all. Their independence of judgment must be respected by all. At the end of the day, if a coach allows the FA president or somebody else, even outside the FA, to influence him to take a decision which is not his, the buck stops with him. He takes responsibility for it.
I agree with you.
There is nothing, however, wrong with me, either as FA president or even an ordinary Ghanaian, suggesting to the coach that go and look at this person. I'm not saying that he's the best, but go and look at him and decide yourself whether he's worth coming into the team. I have done it a few times. One time when David Duncan was handling the under-17, I met him just by chance at the GFA. And I said, Coach, I've heard that there's a young man at Heart of Lions called Sadat Bukhari. I heard the name, I never knew him. I said, go and look at him. I learned he can help you. Later, Duncan came to me and said, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. You got me my number 10. And that boy was the striking pair with Okoko-Agyeman for the under-17 team.
Okay.
Then, at another time, Siki Akuno, I'll call him Siki Akuno, not Coach Siki Akuno. He wasn't a coach then. He was playing in Randers in Denmark or somewhere. He recommended to us that there was a young man called Francis Diko in Denmark who was good and thought we should look at him. We asked our coaches to look at him and then bring him. There's nothing wrong with that. But there is everything wrong with a case, I won't mention anybody's name, in which a management committee for one of the national teams decided to allot slots to themselves. That each management committee member should bring 2 players to the camp. And the confusion broke out when the coach went to train players and found new faces on the field of play. So he abandoned the training and took a car straight to the GFA to come and report to the GFA president that this is what had happened at camp. We investigated and realized that the management committee members probably had good intentions of suggesting players to augment the strength of the team. However, the way and manner they went about it, as if every management committee member, as of right, was entitled to recommend the player. The absurdity in that kind of decision is that you may end up having only goalkeepers coming from management committee.
Understood.
Or all of them are left full backs.
Understood.
Or all of them are center. So it is not advisable to do that. And I always told coaches that, look, if I even ask you to go and look at a player, you take him because of me. If you don't perform, you will be fired. Yes.
Okay.
There's, I think, one last question, then we are done with the social media bit. But this one is saying that we have a crucial game against Nigeria. That game could save our passion. It could also take us to the World Cup. Akosia, ask your panel, what should we do to win those games?
Wow.
To win which games?
What should we do?
Nigeria,
the 2 legends
Yeah.
send up, you're coming up. World Cup.
I think we're starting well. We have good coaches, a good technical team, definitely. Otto, Boateng, my boy Didi, and Woodhatton coming with his experience out of England, Ghanaian Irish. I think they have the technical expertise that they can really put together for us to get something great. And I know there are other things that we cannot say here, scouting and so on. Look at the players critically, surgically, to know who can play in what way and how we can counter. Because Ghana, Nigeria has no form guide, and we have won about 21 times against Nigeria, and they have won 11, and we have done 18 times. So when it comes to football, they are our wives for now.
Wow.
Yeah, sorry. With due respect to wives.
Yes,
but
they will not take kindly to it.
Well, I think I choose spouses actually. For now, and I can tell you, it is not going to be a simple game. I can tell you that if we stick together, and I'm sure That is the meaning of this program today. Bring the past chairman, let's get the nation to come together. All the networks to ensure that we come together in unity. The government, opposition, football administrators should kill their ambitions and let the GFA lead us successfully into Nigeria, and all shall be well.
Nana.
Well, it's a hard call, and it's a very important management decision that have to be taken. It's either you continue or you take risk and say, I'm going to do it this way. And it's done that way. It's an ad hoc committee, a task force, call it whatever, and give them an assignment to deliver. God willing, it will happen.
Kwesi?
Well, we've just considered a new technical team and a new management committee. If each and every one of us was asked to suggest who should be on the technical team or the management team, I'm sure we'll have different people be on it. But the people who have the power, the prerogative to do the appointment, have done the appointment, rightly or wrongly. At this time, as citizens of our country, it behooves all of us to rally behind them, spiritually, morally, whatever we can do. Let us support this team. I believe that Akufo-Addo is on the verge of making history if he qualifies Ghana to the World Cup. He will be the first Black Stars player of this generation to qualify the team to the World Cup as a head coach.
Okay.
And I believe it will bring a lot of dignity, honor to him as an individual and his family. In whatever way we can, the media in particular, say good things about them, motivate and encourage them. Akufo-Addo should also operate as a man of his own. He should select players on the basis of demonstrable merit, so that, like the wife of Caesar, very little can be said about the people's qualification or competence or integrity, you know. But I believe that if we are united and rally behind this team, we are capable of qualifying. I don't share the view that we don't have players. I don't share that view. A national team is not a club side where you will go to South America to buy players to come and play for you. And Ghana is an acknowledged resource center for the development, renewable talent for football. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt at all about that. If we get the right players and motivate them, handled by this technical team, I have no doubt that we will qualify. And that project, qualifying to the World Cup, must be everybody's project. We must all rally behind the GFA to ensure that Ghana qualifies.
Okay. The recent development is such that the FA has appointed a coach and his assistant, whether temporary or permanent, but then the government has appointed a technical director. How are they going to work together?
But
that's what I heard. Or
that
it's different.
Is interesting.
It's not correct.
So
that's very interesting. I say so because, look,
the FA appointed even Chris Hutton as the technical director.
That's what is on the FA website.
I have it here that it was, and we all know where it came from. We all know where it came from. That Chris was brought specifically in by certain people within the government.
Yeah, I think these are assumptions. The truth of the matter is that perhaps some people in government must have had an interest. That is true.
I like it's not assumptions. I'm telling you.
But at the end of the day, the FA I think made appointments, and that is what we should take as the official position.
But were their hands not twisted? Because
everybody's hand can be twisted.
They said if you take this guy, you pay him.
I say apart from football, in everything that we do, hands are always twisted. But we accept what we are told. So let's accept what we are told as the position.
Okay, I'll accept it, but I have serious reservations about it. You surprisingly are now becoming the calming influence here.
So can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
If indeed what you are saying is the truth, touch wood, and this team fails, who takes the responsibility?
That is what I was driving home. That's what I'm going to drive home. That was the question I wanted to find out. Because if everybody's putting their hand in the pudding, then who the heck takes the blame if it doesn't work? All right. I hear Doc wants to say something. Togui, please.
Let me come
Go
in
ahead.
here, based on the question my brother just asked. And that is what is going to lead to. Mark my words. Because here you have a situation where you can't tell who is really in charge. Government brings in a coach. Chris Houghton is a coach. Then later he's turned into an advisor. Now, this gentleman can advise akufo-addo, and akufo-addo can refuse to accept his advice or take it. Now, let me tell you that a similar thing happened when I was at the FE, and I think Kwesi can bear me out. Barreto left us unceremoniously. And what happened was that we happened to quickly organize and get a stopgap coach, in the person of Ade. May he rest in peace. Ade was so blunt, he told me point blank in my office that he can only hold a position for one match. But then we had a match, I think, with Congo or a country I can't really remember now.
All right.
I remember after the match, they left. Then we quickly put in place. That's why these are some of the credits I give to Kwesi Nyantakyi. Now, he quickly advised me, and we advertised for the position of the FA coach. We had numerous, what do you call it, people all across the globe. Finally, we fell on Dukovic. And thank God, Dukovic was the first ever coach who qualified us for the World Cup in our history. So it depends a lot on the team, and it depends a lot on the person in the seat. The way I see this going now, I'm afraid there will be a disaster, and very soon you'll see it happening. Mark my words. That's all.
Let me put this whole discussion on interference into a certain historical context. Prior to 2005, the FA chairmen, who are now called presidents, were appointed by government. The executive council at the time, who voted to elect the FA chairman, was a 36-member body with governing appointees, about 10 or 12 of them. A lot of people came from the Ministry of Youth and Sports. Now, following reforms in 2005, FIFA made a specific request that members of the executive committee, and at that time even members of Congress who represented government, should be taken off. We on the FA were ourselves dissatisfied with that position and wanted government to have one form of representation or the other on the Executive Council and Congress. But FIFA, communicating through their General Secretary, as he then was, one Jerome Champagne, was very categorical that they would not accept it. They saw it as a form of interference. So a high-power delegation involving government representatives, led by the then Deputy Minister of Sports, Honorable Obi Amwa, and then a Professor of Law, Professor Akufo-addo, and myself, we went to FIFA headquarters in Zurich to engage FIFA and persuade FIFA to accept at least the National Sports Council as a representative of government. But FIFA will not budge. So that led to the promulgation of the current statutes in which the government or its representative has no representation on the Executive Council and Congress. Now, Following that, FIFA came up with a model suggestion that in order to ensure that there is lasting peace between the Football Association and government, they proposed what they call a cooperation agreement that should, using Ghana as a model, that will be used to resolve similar situations across the globe. And so they advised that each federation should sign a cooperation agreement with its government. Now, as my seniors rightly said, this is the breeding ground for the interference. In as much as governments do not see a direct role that they play in the management of airfares, a lot of them cannot take it, and so they end up stepping beyond their bounds. But it is also important for us to note that much as the government needs the Football Association, so does the Football Association also need government. Without government, you cannot fund national teams. And if we look across, especially in Africa, most sports ministries go with youth, especially in Francophone Africa. They are all called youth and sports, youth and sports. I believe there is some political capital between youth and sports, which politicians will exploit on. And so when they put a lot of money in football, they will not sit aloof and look at it spent without their involvement. But I believe that the principle of cooperation that FIFA has advocated and has seen it implemented in many, many third world countries is that governments should play their roles, and then the Football Association also play their roles. In local parlance, Obiandi Nilemo. In all over the world, and in Africa in particular, governments are in charge of infrastructure. Almost 95% of football infrastructure in Africa, maybe apart from South Africa and a few places in North Africa, are owned by the government. In our particular case, about 99% of sporting facilities are owned by the government. Now, if we want to organize a competition here, immigration issues are all organized, handled by government. Security is government. So football will not thrive outside the realm of government. And so it is always important that there is a good relationship between government and the Football Association. I've had a benefit of working with many ministers. Alaji, you mentioned some of them. Wonderful personalities. I think that it boils down most of the time to the personality traits of the individuals in office. Because you can have a problem solved without yelling and shouting. You can have a problem solved by engaging a person and explaining your side of the issue to the person. I have had particular issues of what I'll call interference. There were two particular issues because they are well known in the media. I can mention them. In 2011, I was nominated as the candidate of the executive committee to contest the seat on the CAF executive committee. And you are all aware that there was a letter from government sources proposing another person. Then in 2010, when we came back from the World Cup, the FA premises were besieged or ransacked or overwhelmed or overtaken by officials from the EOCO. We took the matter to the High Court, and the High Court declared it illegal and awarded damages of 50,000 Ghana cedis against the states. These are the clearest examples of interference that will readily come to mind. But I thought they were needless because the government could have engaged the FA to seek a compromise on each of these very issues without doing giddy. It's not necessary.
There was one that somebody went to South Africa and spoke about not interference. Do you remember?
Who was that? Well, that was his view.
Ah,
but let me.
It went in the back. You wanted.
Yeah, but let me tell you, I sat on the FIFA Association's committee for a long time. I sat on the FIFA Council for some time, and I can confirm to you that FIFA has taken a position which is encapsulated in a statute that there should not be direct government involvement in the running of FAs. So where there are such situations, what FIFA did was to give the FA a certain time frame. They say 1 year or 2 years, everybody must comply, revise your statute, submit it to FIFA for approval before you move on. But it is very important for us to work together. And this issue of a coach, it lies within the province of the Football Association to appoint a coach. No coach worth his salt will sign an employment contract with the government. It has to be done by the Football Association, because when there is a breach, the only place you can seek redress is FIFA or the Court of Arbitration for Sport, and government will not be recognized as a party to such a transaction.
I agree.
So it is in the interest of government to stand behind the Football Association and then make sure you have a common interest that they prosecute for the two of you. And I do not think that it will help the Football Association, neither will it help the government if the two bodies are at loggerheads. An addendum to the FA government relationship, that money spent by the government are not paid into the accounts of the FA. The government spends them through their own agencies. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
The monies they spend, when, for instance, Black Stars is traveling to Qatar for a training tour, the Ministry of Youth and Sports buys the tickets and pays the travel and tour direct, pays for hotel direct, pays per diem to players direct. Nothing goes through the FA account. Okay. And so the issue of accountability is very easy to address, because you carry your purse holder with the team, and then he disburses the money, takes receipts. Even water that is bought for the team, they take the receipts and then go and account for it. Now, I want to assuage your fears that it may be out of place. it is maybe out of place to give up, to give up, throw your hands into the air in despair and say, we don't have a future. I don't agree that that is the case, just because we are not able to raise enough sponsorship monies to take care of. Sponsorship is not the only way that football should be financed in this country. I believe that football should be considered as a social service. The role that football plays for this country deserves a pride of place in the arrangement of our prioritized needs in the country. Why am I saying that? When the nation, the Black Stars, participates in the African Cup of Nations, the eyeballs that it attracts gives the country more publicity than what the state agencies responsible for tourism and foreign affairs probably have done for the country. The just ended African Cup of Nations attracted over 300 million people across the globe who watch it. And the World Cup attracts over 600 million people across the globe. When you watch the American Super Bowl, a 30-minute advert attracts a fee of, I say 30 minutes, 30-second advert attracts a fee of $5.5 million US.
Figures have changed. It's now 6.4.
So it's social.
Correct.
It's commercial.
The point I'm making, Nana, is that
they can't buy the airtime.
That's the point.
Yeah, so it's commercial.
You convert it to So what football is doing for the country, if the government invests a reciprocal amount, I do not subscribe to government giving cash to football, but government can help with infrastructure. You know that in 2000, when Germany was kicked out of the Euro at the quarterfinal stage by Croatia, they had lost disgracefully in previous competitions in 98, 97. What did they do? One of the key things they did was to build technical centers, 121 of them across Germany, and they were built by the state. The government did it. And each technical center was manned by 2 coaches who were employed by the states. We could reciprocate something like that here. Fortunately for us, we have sports resource centers which have been built in each of the 10 regions.
And now we have 16 regions.
So I'm sure government has plans to...
Don't forget Savannah region.
I am never unmindful of that.
Why? You're from the Savannah, not
yes,
the North.
Savannah.
You're from Savannah, not the North. Okay.
So what I would suggest is that government should consider adding residential facilities to this infrastructure that we already have to become the nucleus for the training of sports boys and girls that will eventually transform into national team. It's not far from being done. if you apart from this advert that it gives, I remember that when we went to Korea and Japan in 2006, we met a lot of people who said they hadn't heard the name Ghana before until we went to the 2006 World Cup. When they heard Ghana, they thought it was Guyana in the Caribbean. And so this is something that the Black Stars had done for the nation. Okay. And so we should...
Something that should be invested in.
There should be a value of that put into football development.
Okay.
Infrastructure is the bane. Then youth development is another thing that we could look at.
We'll get to that. Right. There you are.
Of course, there is a legal issue there, restraint of trade.
That's the point. I want to go out and going.
I had football in mind.
Yes.
But then
I
that's
have
what
been confronted several times that we have allowed a huge exodus of our best talents to uninspiring leagues abroad. And the truth of the matter is that a player plays for WA All Stars and earns 500 cedis a month.
If he's lucky.
If he's lucky. Then he gets a contract to go to Vietnam, and they pay him $5,000 per month. Who am I to stop him? The chief and elders of his village will besiege my house at dawn and give me warnings why I should let the player leave. I believe that we should leave it to the forces of demand and supply. I refer to the Egyptian league. We call it the special league in Africa. It's the best league in Africa. In fact, the Egyptian league is better than many European leagues, even the Danish league, Swedish league, and so forth. Do you know how much they pay their players in some of the clubs?
I'm well aware.
Al Ahly, the lowest paid player in Al Ahly earns $40,000. The highest paid player in Al Ahly, he was in the Tunisian national team. He's paid $130,000. The coaches of our top clubs, how much do they earn? Let alone to even talk about the players. So I think that the basics, if we invest in the fundamentals, the infrastructure, youth football, and then get the structures in place over time, and of course it has to be backed by a good economy, otherwise we can't realize these objectives, then things will improve. But when you impose draconian and, in my view, unreasonable restrictions on movements, they will be ineffective. People will be sneaking out. Some players will leave without ITC and go to Burkina Faso, change his name, get the ITC there, and go to Azerbaijan and play. And in that case, are you helping your people? No. Let them stay here, move to the best clubs on account of the best conditions and circumstances we have here. Let's strive to attain that.
Okay.
Well, I don't know how Mr. Nyantakyi will feel about this particular message. It comes from an Adja Asari, and she says, Mr. Nyantakyi, I miss your smile a lot. Love you to the moon and back. One day. But this is coming from, that's from Adja. But Derek from SCC says,